knows everything about me. That it's scary, but it's like it is what it is now, and I feel like we cannot also go back.
This is Mai. She's the architect who realized buildings and apps are both just spaces people move through. I'm Mika, and this is It's a Vibe. What belief you had about AI that turned out to be a complete lie?
Well, a lot, but I think the scariest part about AI is when it first came out and we didn't know so much about it. So first one is about like it replacing me, obviously, like, oh no, we're gonna run out of jobs and everything. And but also I think um like security. I really see how I changed from like being very cautious to what I tell it to now like using it for everything on my daily basis. It knows everything about me. That is scary, but it's like it is what it is now, and I feel like we cannot also go back to what it was before.
There is something interesting about you that you started your career in architecture and made a switch to product design. What sparked that transition, and how do you think about design differently now that you used to think about then?
I feel like going and studying architecture for 6 years, I did a master's, really rewired my brain in thinking in a specific way, in what now I know is called design thinking, but back in architecture school we didn't call it like that. Um, Rewired completely of thinking about how one person experienced the world. So when I was doing architecture, it was all about the physical world and how people experience the space and the things around them. And we had a lot of context like height and other things. I feel now like the tools have changed, but the design thinking is the same. I still think about that one user who goes into an experience. What do I want them to feel? What are my tools? If it was height and whatever, here I have white space and I have colors and I have like just other tools to get to the same result. Um, and how the transition happened. So I took one course of UX UI while doing architecture. It was like external course. I did like a very stupid app, something about a back in my city there was a big problem of wild boars. So and it was a time that in the newspaper it was all about like, oh no, what do we do with this problem? The wild boars are taking over the city and everything. And we did an app, so it needed to still be related to architecture. And so we did an app. It was all about like helping to bridge the gap between the wild boars and the people. So it was like a little bit like a communication app. It was like the idea was funky and it was like fun just for fun. But I really like this course. Like I like thinking about space in a digital way, and it kind of stayed with me. Um, and then I found myself like even after I joined an architecture office and everything, I kept thinking about it and was like, I feel like this is not my like not my destiny. And I was very, very thankful for the path I did. And these 6 years, I don't regret a moment. If I had to go back and start from scratch and say, okay, I wasted my time doing 6 years of architecture, I didn't. Like for me, that made me the designer I am today, which I'm really, really thankful for.
I love that. It definitely gives you a different perspective. And that's definitely something I see in your work. Going a little bit further into like the comparison of architecture and product, architecture is thousands of years old, while product design is relatively new compared to old jobs. In product, we've all seen like major breakthroughs, introduction of video calls, the way that crypto got in Web3, all of those new patterns. Is there something that has taken such a big leap that you've seen in architecture compared to this?
Yeah, so for sure, like I can go on and about history in architecture, and it took many turns. So, for example, I don't know, it takes like building in stone, building in mud, then suddenly concrete became a thing. Suddenly they realized you can combine concrete and iron, and like, oh, now we can do skyscrapers. So everything is like um the innovation was there all the time, but I think, like, to answer your question, the biggest change that was like more similar to product design, that is similar a little bit like AI now in the architecture
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
would be the introduction of like digital design, like digital planning and designing, in something that is called parametric architecture. I don't know if you
No,
know.
for all us people that do not know any, please explain.
Yeah, sure. So parametric design, and I can do a lot of comparison also to like product. But parametric design is basically what are the parameters that are affecting the architecture, and it's so instead of say, okay, I want this one building or one, I don't know, pavilion, for example, and you start designing it, you said, I want to create a pavilion, but I can put the inputs that would create how it would look like or how it would react to the environment. So everything is with the computer. It's basically like code,
Mm-hmm.
and you have your variants. So it's a little bit like
Interesting.
it is. It's a little bit like a design system with variants. So it's not designing the thing; it's designing the system around it, and then the thing is like the result. So I'm gonna explain myself. I hope I do it right. I'm sorry for all architects there if I'm doing it wrong. Um, but the idea is that, imagine you say, okay, I want to like design this pavilion, and you said, but I want it to react to the wind, or I want it to react to the landscape of the area. So you can put as variants the landscape of the area and the wind, and then like the output would be like the building reacting to it. So the beautiful thing about it is that, imagine you have like a, not a toggle, but like a slider that you could say, okay, the wind is coming from 15 degrees, the building looks like this. The wind come from 20 degrees, it looks like this. So the parameters keep changing the output of the building. And like beautiful examples for that would be, I think the most known is Zaha Hadid. I don't know if you heard about
Yeah.
her. She's like this architect, and she has like these crazy shapes and forms, and the way she gets to these crazy shapes and form is by parametric architecture that was like not even possible before. And I think another interesting thing about it, about this innovation and parametric architecture, I can give another example of an architect called Neri Oxman, which I adore. I love her so much. Um, and she's doing also experiments with parametric architecture. And I said, um, but she's also doing like exploring organic, which that means, um, so instead of letting the context affect the design, she's doing the other way around. So she's letting the environment and everything to design. So for example, she took silk, how do you call them, silk
Worms?
silkworms, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So she took silkworms, which are the context, it's the environment, and she like built a huge pavilion from silk, because she just made a structure, and the worms like were the ones who like doing all the hard work. So I feel like there's also like there's innovation, and at some point we're also starting to look back into the history and start to go back to the origin. It's still an innovation, but it's also like grounded in like basic. And I think this is something that also happening now in like all the AI craze. like the projects that take AI but also are very grounded on like not forgetting the user needs and like our basic needs basically are the ones who succeed eventually.
Talking about ancient and ancient structures and processes and everything, what do you think that are the biggest barriers that you've observed when trying to introduce new technologies or processes to already established industries like architecture?
Yeah, so I think the problem, I don't know if it's just architecture, but like there's a big issue of like legacy, you know, like this is the way we've done it all our life, and this is the way it's done, like period. And another problem I think that is specific for architecture is that we cannot forget that like we have the responsibility, and we're talking about like a physical thing that if it's not done correctly, people might get hurt.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of like legal power to it, and once you um, let this out of your control and your hands, and you kind of like delegate it to the AI, it's very scary because you have a lot of responsibility as an architect. Um, so what I like these are the things I feel like the biggest struggles. But I do think AI could help architects.
In what
Uh,
ways do you think?
yeah, so I would say if I had to like explain an architect, hey, you know what, like let's start use AI, make your life better. I would start by asking, what are the things in your job that you hate doing, that are repetitive, that are boring? I don't know, things like that. And that is something for sure AI could help. Like every task that is repetitive, every task that is like very dry, like creating a list of like you plan something and now you want to translate it into a grocery list of I need 10 nails, whatever, like these things AI could really help. And I think once in a huge architecture office, the head of the office or whatever, the CEO, what they do eventually as what they love to do the most is the concept. So they would love to just take a pen and pencil, sketch like a sketch or something, and say, "This is my vision," and translating this vision into like a real thing. This is also something AI could help. Like not
Interesting.
taking the creativity away from you, but maybe translating it to reality could be super
So
interesting.
you are saying that you can start with basic like automation of processes, which is what AI is already helping with. But in the sense of innovation, there is still opportunity for architects to take AI and let them help, right?
Yeah,
Around innovation.
yeah. If I had to introduce it to someone, I wouldn't say like, "Hey, it will do anything for you." Like I would start small. I would start like by tasks, by something very dry. And then later when once it's already like implemented in the system, we can show how how it can help also translating ideas into or use it for renders or animations, like even using AI. So for example, you have um like your vision, your render for a space. I'm sure we can use AI to just visualize how people use it, which could be something very like hard to do in video and post production and all that. But AI could do it super quickly.
Are there any architecture studios that you might know that are like forward thinking or adopting AI super quickly that you may know of? I don't know.
I see activity on LinkedIn in some companies that are doing like AI for architecture. I haven't seen yet a great adoption for it.
Hmm. Okay.
I saw the solution, but not the adoption, on the other hand.
Interesting. And going into tools, maybe, are there any tools that you think that architects will not adopt by any chance?
Yeah, I would say I would say as long as it's something like very small and dry, or it's like concept, they would adopt. And anything that is like will take over on the responsibility of calculating or like determining amounts and stuff like that, that would be very problematic as architects to release control in that area, unless you could verify. Or yeah, I'm sure you could verify, but still I think it's a little bit scary.
Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, AI is rapidly growing, as we know, but there are still things that cannot replace, especially with these like very, very old industries, even though there's some groundbreaking advancements in health tech. For example, we have a lot of health tech customers and we've seen that and we help them so much. But I still think that there are some spaces that it needs to learn more or that humans need to put more effort into, like adopting or making it better for those spaces, and understanding this and the things that maybe it's not so good at.
Yeah.
I think my last question to you would be, what is something that you think AI could not replace about you?
um I would say for sure it cannot replace like creativity. I think it gone to a place that it follows instructions very good, and um but it's missing a lot of context. So maybe I can refine it. Maybe I can say it will never replace the understanding of context that we have as human beings. So you need to feed the AI so much context, and there's always more context that you haven't put, like cultural context, context, pop context. Like I don't know, if I'm writing something and I want, hey, make it funny. Only I know, I don't know, that yesterday in the news was something funny that I could relate. Or like it's not that creative and has context. So for sure, and for architecture as well, like we need so much context as architects. Um, like the dry context, like rules per country and all that. We have like our cultural context, we have the human context, we have feelings. Like AI would never know how it feels to be in a space that is 10-meter tall.
Hmm.
Like, or like it would never know how it feels like to walk in a narrow space between very tall buildings. Like it's just something that is very, very human. I think the context, understanding of context.
Yeah, it would never know what it feels to have like that great idea at night, once, like just before you're going to sleep, or like you're in the shower and you get this idea and it's triggered by something maybe that happened to you that day and it reflects something on you. So the feelings, I really understand. I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Mai, for this chat. It was amazing, as every chat that we have always. And yeah, thank you for being my first guest in this podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. So
Thank
excited.
you. It's a wrap. Bye bye.